Hello, humans, it's your host Corey, and this week we're going to talk about gratitude because now we are in November, and because I feel like gratitude is still a really difficult thing for many of us. I can't possibly be the only one who struggles to be grateful, and so it's an ongoing process, right? It's an ongoing attempt to build our relationship with gratitude. And so I wanted to share with you specifically 3 techniques that I use that are gratitude practices, and then also kind of share with you a mental framing that I have around the concept of gratitude. Because gratitude for me was really difficult for a very, very long time. I believe I've talked about this before. But if you're new to the show, or if you haven't listened to any of the other gratitude episodes, let me just kind of take you through my journey, my experience with gratitude. And so I just remember hearing things like, Corey, you should be grateful. Corey, you should be glad this didn't happen to you. Yes, this, and this happened, but not this. And so it was always said to me, like, be grateful, as if I was somehow lacking, or if I wasn't trying hard enough, or it was some defect in me, right? That I should be grateful and needed to do that immediately, okay? And so it felt like almost like I don't want to say chore, it's not the right word, but an expectation, certainly, that I should be grateful. And I think, and part of that block that I had against the word gratitude was also because it was often said by an abusive parent, right? And so he would do these terrible things, or he would, really talk down to me or hurt me, anything emotionally or mentally abusive, for example. And then he would come back with, well, you should be grateful that I did this and this. Like, how ungrateful are you? Like, you shouldn't see it that way. Like, you're forgetting all these other things that I did. As if him, spending money on me, or him doing X, Y, and Z in some kind of monetary fashion, which was never really about me. It was about him showing off this wealth that he had acquired. When he did those things, that I should just be grateful for the things that I got. Like, it didn't matter that he didn't respect me. It didn't matter that he didn't treat me well. That I should just be grateful for what I got, because I could get nothing kind of situation. And so I had this real block around gratitude for a long time, partially because of the abuse and because of how it was spoken about by my abuser. Like, you're just ungrateful, as kind of a way to mask his terrible behavior. But then also because other people who maybe weren't as familiar with my situation, who were looking from the outside in, and me being a younger person, they were like, be grateful that this and this happened. I remember specifically being about 15 years old, and it was Thanksgiving weekend, and everyone at school was very excited because it was a short week of school. You only had to go to school for 3 days instead of 5, and then you get the 2 extra days off, so it's a 4-day weekend. Teachers weren't giving you any homework. You get to go home, hang out with your family, eat everything you possibly could. So it was very exciting when you were a certain age. And for me, however, I was not having a great time, because that weekend, all that I had planned was to go down to the jailhouse and sit on the other side of the plexiglass and spend that time with my mother, because my mother was serving I believe it was 120 days that particular time for a DUI. I don't remember if it was her 3rd or her 4th DUI, but I do remember the sentence being about 120 days, and for that year in particular, it was over the holidays, and so I didn't have great holiday plans for the weekend. There wasn't going to be a ton of food at home. She was in jail, and so I wasn't doing anything fun. The only family I was going to see was her, and I was going down to the jailhouse to see her. And so I was just having a very different experience. And so, I can imagine a situation where I'm in this class and we're like supposed to talk about what we're grateful for, and I'm like, what am I grateful for? And so it was really hard for me to wrap my hand around gratitude as a child, as a younger person, teen specifically is what I'm thinking of. Not just because of everything that was difficult that was happening, but also, again, from this use of my abuser hiding behind the words of gratitude to kind of excuse his terrible behavior. And so it didn't really shift for me until I remember seeing Snoop Dogg give his speech for his Hollywood Walk of Fame, like the star that they give you. You they put your name on it and they stick it in the street. I've forgotten the name of the Hollywood Boulevard or something in Hollywood. And so he was there for this. It was like a clip on YouTube, and he was there, and he was wearing all his Gucci, looking fabulous. And he gets up to give a speech, as one does when they give you something fancy like that. And he gets up there and he says, I want to thank me. I want to thank me for always believing in me. I want to thank me for working hard. I want to thank me for doing X, Y, and Z. So he got up there and he said all these nice things about himself and his hard work and his efforts. And I realized that gratitude wasn't just something that people could impose on you. It wasn't something that abusive people could use to hide behind. It wasn't something that you had to force yourself to feel if you didn't feel it because you were dealing with lack or insecurity or uncertainty or difficult times. That you could be grateful for yourself. You could be grateful for everything that you have done for you. And that really shifted it for me personally, because it kind of removed all these other external factors, right? Like I couldn't make abusive people treat me well. I couldn't make my mom stay out of jail. I couldn't make X, Y, and Z happen, right? In order for me to be grateful for it. There was just too much volatility and uncertainty in my life for me to be grateful for external things. But I could be grateful for me. Like that was the one thing I could control. And so it felt more accessible. It felt more constant, because I'm in control of my own behaviors and my own processes. And so I could be grateful for the things I've done for my well-being. I could be grateful for the efforts I've made. And it didn't feel like something inconsistent, that would come or go, that was dependent upon having these perfect circumstances. Like I could always be grateful for me because I knew that I was always trying, right? I was always trying to make things better and easier for myself. And so when I framed it that way, it was much easier for me to develop a gratitude practice, to see the value of gratitude. Because there is a lot of value in gratitude. When you are grateful for yourself specifically, you stay more in this position of autonomy and like authority, self-authority. You don't feel like a victim. You don't feel like things are just happening to you and you have really no control over it. You recognize your own power and ability to influence your situation. So that's very helpful, and it's a very good mental space to be in. It also, what positive psychology teaches us is that we perform better when we're in a positive mindset rather than negative, neutral, or stressed. Negative being, something terrible is happening. Neutral being we don't feel one way or the other, and then stressed being we're actually losing it. Or we're under we are in duress, we are under pressure, stress. And so positive mindset is much easier to get into or to maintain when it's done from this place of gratitude. And so I would encourage you, if you are someone who struggles with gratitude, if there just feels like there's too much going on in your life or external circumstances, and it's hard to feel grateful for all of this, I would encourage you to look at ways to be grateful for you, or ways to turn that back on yourself in a very helpful, loving way. And so I want to share with you 3 things that I do, 3 specific gratitude practices that I cultivate gratitude with. The first one is not necessarily about me. It can go either way. I'll show you what I mean. Let me just get into it. So the first exercise that I used to do is look at me, you can tell I watch ASMR videos. I'm like, let me just I've been so tempted to do ASMR videos. Let me tell you, I love them so much, and yes. So if you have thoughts on that, feel free to share. But basically, what I was doing was let me figure out where it is I just made a list of all the things that I liked about the world, that I loved, that made me happy, and this keeps going, right, for many, many, let's see, I got this far in this particular journal so far. And so that could be anything from I have a house to fuss over. I have a warm bed. I some of these are very personal. I can't read them all to you, I just realized. But let's find some PG, internet-friendly versions. I am grateful that I am healthy, that I have a functioning body. And I was grateful for some new shoes, apparently, for good hugs, for listening to audiobooks, for glitter. I don't even remember the context for this. I was grateful for snow on the ground, so this must have been during winter. I love walking with my dog, the fact that I can walk with my dog, warm coats, cute winter hats, clean fingernails. So really, a chilled bottle of Moscato Castiello del Poggio. This must be really long because I haven't drank wine in probably since I got married. So I don't know how many years this has been. But a whole chocolate in your mouth, dissolving. And so I will make you listen to all of these gratitudes, but the pausing, sitting in my office chair in the mornings, seashells, the sound of breathing, ocean-like breath. That's this particular like meditation thing, by the way. If you're like, what? A clean house, the smell of coffee, snow flurries, the smell of bergamot. So anyway, this idea that you could have something like this, like a journal, and every morning you could get up and you could put just, don't make it pressure. Don't make it hard, is the word I'm looking for. Don't make it hard on you. Don't be like, if I don't come up with 20 gratitudes, I'm a terrible person, or whatever. Don't bring any stress or anxiety to this exercise. But if you just get a nice journal that you think is beautiful, and then list in this journal, what it could be, just one thing that made you happy that day, or one thing that you loved, like my dog booped my nose, or I booped my dog's nose, my dog has a nose. I have a dog. My dog has a nose. I love booping the nose. 3 things, done. You know what I mean? So don't complicate it. Don't make it too difficult. But it helps to list out things that we like about ourselves, about the world, our lives, so that at any time, you can open this up and you can see this list, and it can remind you, that there's actually good things happening in the world, that it's not all doom and gloom and trash. And so that's one thing, is that you could have a gratitude journal and you could do a list. I've also done it where just in my normal journal that I'm still working through, like my normal everyday journal, like I'll have my entry, and then at the end I can also just list 2 or 3 things that I'm grateful for that day. And so journaling, that's one way to be grateful. I've already shared with you before gratitude letters. I have a whole video on this if you haven't seen it. I don't know where to put this. So gratitude letters, if you did not see that episode, they are, I get a nice piece of, this is not a piece of anything. This is what is this? This is a thank you card. I'm struggling with words today. I've not had my coffee yet, and it's showing. This is a thank you card that I sat down with. I do it every Sunday, and I write a letter to myself, thanking myself for whatever I feel like I need to be thanked for that time, like investing in myself and, working on my health and doing the PT and Pilates I know I need to do for my back, for getting enough sleep, for whatever it is, right? I just thank myself, show some gratitude for myself, and I write them one every week. And you can see kind of how it's changed. This was clearly all one pack of thank you cards. And then when those were done, I, moved on to another one. And I have opened some of them and read them to myself, but mostly they're still unopened. And I've been doing it for 136 weeks because I write the week number up in the corner when I'm done. So I've been doing this for the last 136 weeks. So what is that? That's like almost 3 years at this point. And so I love this as a practice. When I need a pick-me-up, or I need like a pep talk or some little self-love, I will take a letter and I will open it and I will read it, and it always does the trick. Hearing kind, loving words from myself. So you could try something like this, where you write a weekly letter instead of maybe a daily thing. or do both. Do it all. And then my third recommended gratitude practice are visualizations. And so now with visualizations, there are so many different kinds of visualizations. I will share a few with you, and then you can kind of think about where you are right now in your life and what you need, and try them out to see which ones you find to be most helpful. So the most basic gratitude visualization that I try to connect people with is gratitude for yourself. And so how that works is you visualize yourself coming toward you. So for example, I would tell you to close your eyes. I would say picture the version of you that you're very grateful that they did something for you. So for example, if you love your job, I don't know if you do. Maybe I shouldn't pick something so difficult. Maybe you love your pet, okay? I'll use Max as an example because he's a good one. Let's say that you love your pet and you're really grateful to the version of you who got that pet, who changed their life. And so you would visualize the version of you who went to that humane shelter, or who, went to that farm, or wherever you got your pet, however you got it. The version of you that said yes to that. You would visualize them as clearly as you could. And you would imagine going up to that version of you and thanking them so much for this amazing thing that you have in your life, that because of them, you have this fantastic, amazing thing. So for example, with Max, he was somewhat unexpected because Charlie, for those of you who've been following me for a long time, you know that before Max, I had a sweet pug named Charlie. He was a good boy, but he unfortunately passed in January of last year. And so when Max came along at the end of May, end of May, I wanted another dog, but I was hesitant because Max and Charlie are so different. They are not the same kind of dog. Charlie was like an immobile. He lost his mobility there toward the end of his life. So he was just a, couch potato, very loving, sweet couch potato. Max, it was this young, energetic dog that needed a lot of exercise. And so I really hesitated with that decision about, I don't know if that's the right choice for me. Is this a mistake? And even after I got Max for like the first month or so, when I was doing all of that walking around, I was like, did I make a mistake? I still questioned myself for a minute. But now I'm so happy. I can't imagine my life without him. I worry about his happiness and well-being all the time. I can't imagine my life without him. I don't want anyone else to have had him. Like if he had gone to someone else, I'd be so sad. And so now, a year later, it's clear that that was like one of the best decisions that I made. And so I could do this exercise for that, or if there was another thing in my life that I was really grateful for, the person who said yes to the version of me that said yes to getting married to my wife because we have built, a really happy, loving life together, or the version of me that said yes to getting this house, whatever it is, right? You visualize the version of you who gave you something that you are grateful for. And so you are thanking them in your mind. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is slightly more emotionally complicated, which is that you thank someone that was challenging, let's say. Everyone's dealing with this to different degrees, right? Like some of you have experienced like a difficult abuse from a particular person. Some of you, it was just like the relationship didn't end great. Maybe it was a friendship that fell apart, or maybe it was a relationship that didn't work out, whatever it is. So for example, I have mentioned many times that I have an abusive father, and so I can't necessarily imagine him as he is, like as a grown adult, because I'll get angry or I'll get upset. Like, you jerk. But I can express gratitude toward a younger version of him. So often when I do this work of processing some kind of experience or emotion with him, I'll shrink him down. I have a photo of him when he was probably about 5 years old, and he was a cute little kid. And so if I need to speak to him, I will often speak to that version of him. So if I wanted to do a gratitude practice, even with something as extreme as an abuser, I would shrink him down to child size, and I would speak to the child. I'd be like, I am grateful for all the things that I learned from you, from my time with you. I'm grateful that because of you, I know how important it is to be kind and loving to other people. So even like I'm catching myself like softening my voice like I'm talking to a child. And so sometimes the visualization, it needs to be altered a little bit. Like if you can't handle speaking to one particular version, change the version of the person that you're speaking to if you want to express this gratitude or you want to get into this space, and make it more workable for yourself. Another visualization that I have done is for me in the future. So instead of me talking and saying great things to a person, me, from my past, I visualize that I'm the person and the person from the future is coming to tell me how grateful they are for everything I've done. And so that's a really sweet and fun one as well. So I'm like imagining like this elegant older woman, maybe she's like 60 or something. And for those of you who don't know, I'm like in my 40s now. So she's like 20 years older than me. And she's like, she sees me and she's like, Corey Marie. And she comes and she, says her thank yous or expresses her gratitude. And then I get to feel what that feels like. And so that's pretty fantastic. It's a great exercise. And then let's see if I can have one more. Another gratitude visualization that I really love is around the campfire version of me. So the visualization works that I'm walking through the woods and I see it's like night, but not spooky. Like this visualization is not supposed to be like a horror movie or scary. It's just like you're walking down a peaceful moonlit road or trail at night, and you see a campfire kind of in the distance. Think cozy, not horror. And you go to the campfire, and around the campfire is all the versions of you at different ages. And so there's all these little Corys running around. There's some older Corys are holding like baby Corys. Some of the Corys are like my age-ish. Other Corys are like much older. I imagine them as old as like in their 80s or something like that. And so we're all there, and then I get to like talk to different versions or like do different things with them and kind of enjoy this experience of enjoying myself. Which sounds weird when I say it like that. It's a good positive feeling, just kind of being grateful for all of the me's that are on this journey and the decisions and choices that we've made and how we spend our life and our energy. And it's a very, try it out. It sounds weird, but try it out and see how you feel about it and come back and tell me, because I would love to hear if you had a positive experience with it, because I have felt nothing but like compassion and sweetness, even for what I would consider my more difficult versions of me, like the super angry teenager who just wanted to like beat everybody up. For example. Or like these other versions of me that weren't so nice or so kind. I still had this profound feeling of being deeply grateful and like understanding them where they were at that particular time in life. So try that one out as well. But yeah, so those are my 3 suggestions. You can try visualizations, you can try journaling about it every day, having a list of gratitudes, or your weekly gratitude letter. I have found all of those gratitude practices very, very helpful. And don't feel like you need to just do one or the other. More, when it comes to gratitude, more is better. I mean, do whatever you have time for, because we don't want to trigger the other aspect of like, well, I don't have time to do it, so I won't do it at all, right? So even if you only wrote down one gratitude, you took 5 seconds and wrote down one gratitude a day, that's better than nothing, right? But training ourselves to look at what we have with new eyes, but particularly looking at ourselves and what we do for ourselves with new eyes, is extremely helpful and a loving way to approach our relationship with ourselves, because that's the most important thing, is to learn how to be grateful for you. And thank you very much for joining me today, dear humans. That's it for this episode. If you enjoyed the episode, please feel free to write in and let me know. Or if you have any other ideas or questions that you want me to tackle in future episodes, I'm always happy to do that. Otherwise, I will be back in a couple weeks with another episode of A Well Cared For Human. And until then, please take good care of you. Max is deciding he'd like to be part of this conversation. Oh, you can't see him. Hello. We're talking about gratitude. Do you have anything to say? How can we be more grateful? How can we be more grateful? You got tips for us? You have tips for us? You seem like a very happy, grateful boy. Do you have tips for us? No? Okay.